no one can, defund them, and they have extreme amount of free time. Most of them are retired, and they're at that prime age to be extremely political in our country. So I don't have any problem kind of blaming the boomers in order to try to wake them up and motivate them into righting the wrongs of their youth and not really, stepping up for America. I mean, really, like, a lot of the things happened to them while they were very young children. The Hard Seller Act, the pointing the back to them. The majority of the boomers were young teens at that time. So it's really not their fault. But if we could push them in order to take a huge swath of you could be very active people in fighting for it. I mean, I don't see him in here yet. Beirut Barry is by far my favorite boomer, but there's lots of boomers that come to this space that are fighting every day, trying to wake up other boomers. And even to this day, we have internet, but even to this day, most boomers are not on the internet. So we have to make that bridge from the internet over to all these boomers that just consume Fox News, and I think we're starting to do that. So I mean, we have to use our boomers. We have to wake up our boomers, and maybe throw a little bit of shade in there just to make them feel some guilt for allowing our nation to be invaded before their eyes, because they watched it happen. Most boomers were born in 1965 when this nation was 90% white, or not born prior to 1965 when this nation was 90% white, and today we're 58% white, and their grandchildren are extreme minorities. They literally watched it happen before their eyes. So it's no one should be able to stand up more than them.
Raj, you mentioned two good points. Can I just comment quickly on them? Number one, the boomers, they have time on their hands and all that. Here's what they need. They know the internet, but more in that AOL, instant messenger way. They got to get into spaces. Here's the other thing. I just picked up something that you said. Say someone's a boomer and they find out about the JQ. They are living with the guilt of, I killed X amount of my brethren for a Jewish usury system. You think they ain't motivated to go help? Yeah, so I would encourage any boomer not just to be acquainted with the internet, get into spaces. Here's something else for us. You said they have time on their hands. Absolutely. But here's the problem. They're on fixed incomes. Unlike us, I own my own business. No one's going to hire me because of my views, and I'm proud of that. The boomers can't get hired. They're on fixed incomes. They say this, if they're honest about reality, i.e. call out the Jew, Social Security, this, that, blah, blah, blah. However, I would encourage boomers, the best thing they have, like you said, is time on their hands. Get into spaces. I know so many. There was a school of thought. There was this one guy who told me, he said, Billy, these boomers in the 80s and 90s, let them die thinking they work for a good cause. I said, no, they wake up, they'll be more motivated to become as tech savvy as any 18-year-old kid with the fire and fury of anger of what they did. They were lied to, they were tricked. I'm not saying they all get a free pass. Perhaps they could have looked further, but Rush, I think they now have the opportunity, not just now, 10 years ago, to make up for all this. Not just go and learn how to send an email. Get on spaces, share your knowledge, and say, look, my name is former Sergeant whatever. I killed 37 of my brethren's Germans and Italians for a lie because the internet wasn't around. And
I think you have your generations mixed up. The boomers didn't fight in World War II.
Well, not the boomer. I mean, I'm sorry, the prior generation. All right, the boomers are like the media of the so-called greatest generation, right? And anytime the Jew says something, you multiply it by -1. You take the opposite. They were the worst generation because they led to what we have today. As for blame, we spoke about that. But boomers out there, use your time on your hands. As Rush said, the fact that you don't have to work. Come on, they ain't gonna take Social Security and all that other shit away because you said Jew. The worst thing you're gonna do is get fired from a job, but you're not working. So you know what? There you go. Spend that time that you were falsely tricked into murdering your cousins for the Jew, and turn it around and spend your great remaining days undoing all that, awakening people. And so people could have more white children to take the place of those that were unjustly murdered at the behest of the Rothschilds. And I'm going to land there, Rush.
Yeah, and it's something we all need to do. But I mean, I'm personally trying to wake up everyone in my life, my family members, my friends, everyone. And I have some older boomer family members that came and stayed with me earlier this year. They stayed a pretty long time, but they brought their own house. But it was a great awakening for them because I kind of. They're from a left-leaning area, so I turned them right-wing a few years ago, and I've really woken them up to the invasion this year, and really trying to push them to be activists, and that's really what all boomers need to be. If they can spend their spare time, rather than watching sports ball and those types of things, becoming activists and really pushing back against this global homo, it would be extremely powerful. They're the most powerful group in our society because of their isolation. So, but Twiddle, good to see you, buddy. Really good to see you. Jump in there, man. Hopefully you're feeling better today.
Dude, no, this pain moves around like it's in a different spot every day. Now it's all my neck and my shoulders. The last 2 days, it's like the Lyme stuff. It's a bacterium that gets into you, but your body reacts to it, but it moves around everywhere. Like I've had it everywhere, every joint, any articulating part of my body. I've experienced some sort of pain now that I've gotten bit. But enough about me. It's not important. I want to jump to a couple of things. I have been listening. I was driving when we first started, but on the shooting in Minnesota, I don't know if you guys touched on it. I saw a few people mention it down in the comments too, but the guy mentioned, the shooter mentioned Black Rock a few times. He wrote it down on a couple of mags too. He also he wrote down, there was a bunch of names that I had to really look at them, and it was kind of hard to read some of them, but one of them really stuck out, and it was Lanza. So he wrote Adam Lanza's last name on one of the mags, or it was on the shotgun or something. But he was another one of those shooters. And then fun fact, the FBI does not track crime stats from trans people. I thought that was a big one there that ties into the stuff that I was mentioning earlier with, they mention certain races, like they'll put them, there's someone who's clearly black, they'll label them as white, Asian, they'll label them as white. It just messes up the statistics. They've done this for years. I actually was digging into it, doing the CRS stuff that we've been talking about. And they've been doing it with anyone of East Asian descent, and then certain people from the Philippines, and they'll do it for certain Hispanics too. They'll label them as white, which is just great for the white race to make it look like we have X when we really have Z, and we're losing badly. But anyway. He also talked about the Jews quite a bit. He wrote Jew gas on a smoke grenade. He mentioned the Jews many times, and he attacks the Christian church. I find it very odd. MK Ultra, all that stuff comes to mind. Not only that, Jewish last name, Jewish family. Truth Teller, I saw posted a bunch of stuff about him already, and he already went in there. And then my final things. So I don't know if I talked to you guys about it yesterday, but they fired the CDC Gov lady. What's her last name? Monterez, I think is the last name. Yeah, she was Dr. Susan Monterez, and she was the previous ARPA H head that got drafted in to the government position. Basically, she was working on the Poseidon program, which is it's a cancer vaccine, mRNA specific cancer research, AI assisted what do you call it? It says open AI, but like machine learning, that kind of stuff. And then she was a big proponent in pushing vaccines on the kids, and they changed it, and JFK said something about it was still okay to do it on very, very young children, infants, I think. But no, she was only in there 4.5 months, 5 months, and she's already gone. Not only was her who got ousted, it was the director of the CDC vaccine unit, the CDC chief medical officer, the head of the CDC zoonotic division, which is like all your diseases and stuff that affect like our animals in captivity, and the stuff that can like get out, or like in poultry farms and all that stuff, like bird flu, swine flu, etc. Not only did they fire this lady, and I commented, I was like, all right, cool, we're gonna have Bill Gates in the news like in the next month. I woke up the next day, and Trump had had a dinner with Bill Gates literally the next day after meeting with or after firing this lady. So I find that very suspect, because she was working on some like very nefarious stuff, and I think that she might have came in, done some damage, and gotten kicked out, or she was noticed, and they're like, all right, yep, you're compromised, we got to get you out of here. Either way, none of that stuff is good, especially the meeting with Bill Gates, considering what we know about him. But that's all the news I have right now. I definitely would love to touch more on the Minneapolis stuff, considering I was talking about it yesterday. I was like, what is the deal with Minneapolis? They're like a canister.
So do you think that he was anti-Israeli? I saw the one quote he had on the shotgun. He wrote, "Israel must fall," and then he says, "But like a phoenix, we will rise from the ashes."
I mean, he said a bunch of stuff about him. He said 6 million wasn't enough. There was a bunch of things thrown out about the Jays, but there was also stuff thrown out about.
I didn't see that 6 million wasn't enough.
Oh, dude,
did he say that, or did he have it?
No, all this was written on his thing, and then there's an AI transcription of his diary that was all written in Cyrillic. I have all this stuff. I tried posting a lot of it yesterday, and it just would not let me. And like the spaces were being weird. The X was being weird. I think that they were like actively scrubbing it of certain things, because they scrubbed his YouTube account. They scrubbed. All of it's all gone. I just find this funny. Like we were able to come up with all this information in less than 24 hours when we don't know anything about Thomas Crooks and the Butler PA shooting. Like we don't know nothing about that guy, except like he was in a BlackRock commercial, and he was a bit of a weirdo. But this stuff is nuts. Like this, I can't keep up with it at this point.
Well, it's nuts that he said that he was sponsored by BlackRock. He's sponsored by BlackRock, and he kept saying that. And he even had it on one of his magazines, sponsored by BlackRock. It's pretty crazy for him to make a statement like that. Knowing the past implications of those Dylan Roof and not Dylan Roof, the Trump assassination attempter. It's pretty crazy stuff. Literally crazy. But so that is exactly the narrative, though, that the Jewish community are completely pushing. I was listening to another space last night, and it was full victimhood. This guy was out to attack Jews. I saw the homo plumber that's a complete Zionist. That guy is made a post where people are saying Israel must fall and connecting them. I think even tied Grimm into that and had his name associated with that. They want to push this victimhood rhetoric. I mean, no one plays the victim. Black people think they know how to play the victim card. No one plays the victim card like the Jewish community in the United States. So we're about to see that card played harder than we've ever seen played.
They already did it, though. They did it, though. Literally the same day. I think it was the same day. The California public schools are allowed. They're all going to be throwing the Israeli flag up now. Did you guys see that?
No, I didn't.
Like, I didn't.
Because of the shooting?
Oh, let me put that. No, like literally, that is some sort of like state decree. They're flying Israeli flags. Like here, come get us. This is the next target. Like in California, I'll put it down in the below in the nest, or I'll put it back up in the jumbo. But if y'all want to look up at the jumbo here and look up what Gideon is, that it's like Palantir 2.0. The live version, they're gonna run it out. Like this guy's screaming about it here on Fox News. And this is the scrubbing. That's what's weird to me is like there was so many different things with this shooter that he wrote down to like different talking points that would hit every different target, different groups of people and interested in different topics. But like whether it's the Jays or Christians or pedophilia, the trans people, all that stuff. I mean, it all ties into it because these are stuff that they're going to look for on X, and like through this implementation of this. It's not like a scrubbing software, but it scans everything and comes back and puts you on a list. And this is just another thing that's tied into Peter Thiel. It's tied into all this shit that has to do with the firing of the people of the CDC. All of it. It's all there. It's crazy. I'm connecting so many dots. It's weird and I can't keep up with it.
Well, I mean, that's what AI is basically a computer-based augmentation of data. And so I bought it. I mean, this is the first time I heard the name Gideon. Is that just a division of Palantir? Is it associated with Palantir, or is this a separate software platform completely separate from Palantir? But what is the association between Gideon and Palantir? Do you know that total?
Well, I mean, and it's built privately, but it's supposed to be used for like law enforcement, from what I gathered. I mean, that would be its best implementation. It's like it tracks like pre-crime. I mean, basically what this thing says here.
Right, the Minority Report. Catch you making the crime before it happens, type of thing, and that's what we were kind of told Palantir was going to be, and that's why we're so concerned. So does Palantir just own Gideon? Is it
it's all they're all umbrella
within Palantir?
It's like all umbrella groups, and they all do different stuff, but it all ties into one system. Like best way to put it is like an umbrella. Like you have someone at the top. It's not a pyramid too, because it cascades in different directions. But it's a bunch of different stuff. Poseidon's part of it. Gideon. The only thing I can relate Gideon to is Gideon's chariot, which is another Jewish thing, I think. But I don't know. The AI stuff's scary. They're talking about implementing it, and what scares me more is the mRNA stuff, in my opinion. I know the tracking everything, like, to me, that stuff's already here, and we're already tracked. But, like, developing these vaccines that literally can, within 48 hours, you can completely replicate, like, the successful, like, working treatment for the person, and Russia already has a cancer vaccine, and it's not just cancer vaccines. That's the messed up part. This can be weaponized so easily, and it probably already is. I don't want to black pill anybody.
Well, Cuba has an Alzheimer's cure also now. We're in all these different assertions with vaccines and cures, but when it comes to these softwares, I mean, they're already doing that, guys. We already have files compiled on all of us. Your cell phone company, every cell phone, text message, phone call, your geodata, all that information is being saved and is being archived in massive data centers. That's the reason we're building a lot of these data centers. It's not for computing power; it's for storage power. And to me, I mean, this stuff is already here. It's already been implemented. They're just waiting to make it go live in order to, start arresting people under the guise of the software. And then it's going to come to the court. There's going to be discovery. type stuff. I mean, it's going to evolve quite a bit, and it's going to step into First Amendment privacies and freedom of association. It's going to get pretty delved into the law, but it's crazy that not only did Trump bring us the lockdowns and the whole COVID scare, but now he's possibly going to bring us this new AI software that's going to incriminate people based off of their social media activity and those types of things. It's a pretty crazy thing. I mean, but to me, it's insane that AI can read things like text, and they can interpret voice and log that into text, and then search for keywords. I mean, we're already there, guys, and using AI to translate this guy's Cyrillic handwritten scribble is just another example of that, or using AI to look at your search history and realize that Twiddle and Frank have been way too anti-Semitic. And I just kidding. It's pretty scary stuff, but I think we're gonna have. If they start arresting people on behest of things they said on the internet without any implication, I just don't think we're going to get to that point in the United States. Maybe not, but that'll be a huge eye opener for a lot of people. That'll radicalize a lot of Americans once people start being arrested for their online speech, and I don't foresee that happening. I don't think they can sell that to the American people. They're going to need about 20 or 30 more of these Catholic attacks before they can maybe try to justify that to the American people. I just don't think that we love our freedom, and no one's gonna accept being controlled by an AI algorithm. But General, I just got word from him. He is going to be back here very soon, guys, and I can't wait to hear his take on this Trinity shooter. But Flap, good morning. Good to see you, buddy. Jump in there.
Hey, good morning. I put my hand up when you talked about Italy. So what I was going to say was Italy was like America beta test. You know what I mean? They conquered. There's stories I heard, that you don't get in history books. One is like the name, how Poland got the name and how Romania got the name. So when they showed up to Poland, the Holy Roman Empire, and Caesar also before when it was SPQR, but they did like a tour the first time, and they said, we're going to come over here, and the people met them and gave them bread and apples and said, you want to sleep inside our house? And they said, these people need no conquering. And then they started moving over to the east to go to Romania, and the name is Romania because these people didn't meet them with bread and housing. And now if you look at the faces in Romania, you notice they have a Roman nose. So Rome went crazy on them. That's where you get the name Romania. And I just thought I'd share that with you. And then my post about Gene Rosen took off, a true story. I did one television background acting job. I was a tourist. The show was called The Wedding Album. I keep walking by with this guy, Gene. He told me he's a pet sitter. This is 06. Pet sitter and an actor. All right, whatever. Awkward guy, like wanted to be liked. And the other guy didn't say a word. So anyway, we were there 35 times. We walked back. Last scene, places, they yell. We were standing by a light. Gene Rosen had his foot under the tripod of this 250-pound light. He cracks his nose. He's bleeding, broken nose. The bigwigs come out and they got a union contract, and they run up to him, and I'm right next to him, and I say, don't sign that, man. And they're like, listen, man, you're in the union now. Sign. I said, listen, don't sign it. They're gonna make it a workman's comp case. You're gonna get your medical bills paid, and you're gonna see doctors that don't have your best interest. I was hit by a bus 6 years before. I was trying to help this guy out. He signed. Everybody hated me there. Cut. It's a wrap. He's bleeding. We can't shoot the thing anyway. I didn't really get any calls for any other acting after that. You know what I mean? But I gave the guy good advice. He had to just get in an ambulance, and they would have slam dunk settled with him for $200,000-300,000. You know what I mean? Just to make it go away. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say, guys.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, different tribes of everything, but the point is, Italy was invaded by the Moors, and those they settled on Italy, and now you have guys like
I get that too, but it was an empire. It was an empire. I mean, the northern Italian.
It was a nation. It was a nation of people. It was a tribe and nation of people.
Right, and they collected skilled labor and brought it back to Rome. You know what I mean? And they tamed the wild peoples.
I'm talking about Italy, though. Italy was invaded by the Moors, and the Moors kind of never left, and they took over Sicily. So that's that's how you have guys that look like
two things about
Dan Bongino that say they're Italian.
I've had Italian people tell me they're not white, so I'm proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you're Dan Bongino, I would say that you're African. I mean, that's the crazy thing, isn't that?
You
now
look like kids for the friendly ghosts compared to these girls.
Well, that's the thing. Is now, today, we have DNA tests, and when you give someone like Dan Bongino a DNA test, yeah, he's going to show apart Italian DNA. But that sub-Saharan African DNA is not going to be hidden from the DNA test. I mean, we have the science. It is
Right, and it's also a very clustered, tight-knit area. So yes, the majority of the place was conquered by the Moors. You got the curly hair, the olive skin, definitely. But there's also places, like they say, the dialects are so off. They're all like, hollers. It's like Italian hollers of West Virginia today. That, the Moors weren't going there because they'd get their ass kicked.
And I apologize, guys. Let me come off mute for some reason. Ignore my breathing or my kids yelling in the background. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but no one ever signed any documentation whenever you have an injury, though. I know people in the personal injury world, and they always want you to sign something, especially places like Publix or grocery chains like Aldi. Those grocery store chains, they get sued quite a bit, and they have huge, massive insurance policies. So as soon as you fall or topple in a grocery store,
you are not a sovereign American in an arbitration. Never.
Exactly. Don't ever sign your rights away while you're in there. So that's some good advice there, Flop. But I believe we had some hands that came. Let's get to Frank first, and then we'll cycle back to Di and Twiddle and
I can hit that like button for me. It helps me get it out there. I appreciate it.
You guys, yeah, it's really wild what happened with the shooter situation. To me, what it seems like is somebody who was obviously very aware through social media what was happening in the Middle East, self-hating Jew, what have you, but probably went for the easiest, quickest target. Probably not much more than that. I don't know. It's kind of wild. Maybe it is MK Ultra, but and then last night I was at the Safeway down the street getting something to bring to work, some soup or something. And I did my usual thing where I see someone, and it happened to be some young kid that was getting back in his car with 3 other kids about the same age, all male. And I looked at him and I just said, "Hey, man." And I live in a town where it's very low crime. Everyone's pretty cool. I said, "Hey, man, who do you think did 9/11? And he looked at me, and as he's getting in the car, he goes, "The Jews." And then the other guys were like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" So they rolled down the window, and they're looking at me because we were parked side by side. And I said, "And I'm glad you guys are aware of what's going on. You guys are our future, and what happens in the world next is going to be up to you guys. So just want to say thanks." So I just wanted to share that with you guys. But yeah, it was lots of fun.
That's pretty awesome, Frank. It's a good story. I mean, that's what it's all about is waking up everyone around you and throwing out those little anecdotes. I mean, I do the same thing. That's hilarious. And yeah, talking to the youth, the Generation Z are by far more awake than we'll ever be. You know, we're talking about blaming the boomers earlier. I'm blaming my millennial self. I mean, I spent 6 years of my life fighting a Zog war, you know, thinking that it was because of 9/11 and completely brainwashed to this global homo. And that next generation is not brainwashed to the global homo, and they see it much earlier than any of us did. And it's because they're growing up in a country where they have no prosperity. The American dream's been taken away from them, and they should have some animosity towards that. It has some animosity towards their nation, their sovereignty, their homogenous society that their grandparents had. Being completely stolen away from them is something that Generation Z is waking up to. But you know, as far as this Truny, I mean, he obviously had the features of a Jewish person as far as the nose and the ears. But his last name Westman is really not a Jewish name. I can't wait till General can get on here and help me make those connect. Oh, they're perfect, General, perfect time. Was he a Jewish person committing a Jewish attack?
His mother is Jewish. His father converted to Judaism. That's why his name doesn't cross over, because his mother is the Jew. And his father converted. But you know what's interesting is this guy, his profile is very similar. If you guys remember that the Tesla, the guy who went and bombed the Atom guy who bombed the Tesla facility, same exact MO, Jewish tranny that went up there and, you know, did what he did. It's like, it's almost identical. And Marjorie Taylor Greene posted on this as well. She was saying, why do every single one of these always have a manifesto? It's like it's all planned out. Like it doesn't really make sense. I saw a guy who is he's a production expert at video production, and he was saying, like, even the video that he produced of his book or whatever, that notebook he had, he said, this isn't easy to make this shot and have it with the proper lighting and the camera angle, everything there. Like, this is professionally done. There's more behind this. And also, considering the guy is Jewish, he's not white, right? So Trump signed the executive order in 2018 stating that Jews are their own race and ethnicity. And the Jews also have published that calling Jews white is anti-Semitic. So I would say any of these people who are going out there and using the word white or term white for this guy is anti-Semitic, and they should probably be arrested for hate speech. So I saw quite a few people trying to talk about, oh, white people this, white people that. Well, he's not white, he's Jewish. And now you're running out there with hate speech. So maybe we should go arrest all these people for calling him white, because he's not white. That's my take on it. But it is strange that if anybody has the information on that Tesla bomber, I think it was in Oregon, Washington or Oregon, where he went up there and he bombed the Tesla facility, he firebombed it. Again, it was a Jewish tranny. So there is a pattern emerging out of this. That's my take on it.
Yeah, it's a very great take. And you know, that is the one case I agree with someone being arrested for anti-Semitism is when they're incorrectly labeling someone that's Jewish white.
That's the whole thing. Like, this guy, he supposedly hates the Jews and all this shit. Well, why didn't he go shoot up a synagogue then? why did he go to the Catholic Church, the Catholics who the Jews hate the most, and yada, yada, yada. Like, if he actually hated the Jews, going after the Catholics is like the antithesis of that, because the Catholics historically have always been the biggest oppressor of the Jews. So it's just a psyop. This guy is, it's all BS. You know, this whole thing that they have set up here, even the rhetoric that they have coming out. If you listen to that debate between Nick Fuentes and Adam King says, and the question was posed to Adam King, if you could get rid of one religion, which one would it be, Islam or Catholicism? He said, Catholicism, without doubt. They're our biggest enemy. I mean, he didn't even hesitate. So, you know, so now you have this Jewish guy who went and shot up the school of their biggest enemy, which are the Catholics. They try to make it sound like the Muslims are their biggest enemy, but they're not. You know, I just got done covering yesterday how Keith Ellison, the AG of Minnesota, who went after Shiloh Hendricks, he wrote an article saying the only way to end white people is for Muslims and Jews to unite. So this is like a facade on the front that they hate Muslims. They don't actually hate Muslims. They always work together. They always have. You can go back and look at the gates of Toledo in Spain. It was the Jews who opened up the gates for the Muslims to invade. It's always been the same. So again, it's no shock that we have a Jewish man who's a tranny going in and shooting up a Catholic school, because that's his number one target. That's his enemy. You don't sit there and say, I hate Jews, and then go and shoot up the enemy of the Jews. That's just retarded. You know, his target was obviously Catholics, not Jews. If he hated the Jews so much, he would have went and shot up a bunch of Jews. He didn't go shoot up a bunch of Jews. He went and shot up the Catholics. You know, so this is where people in the U.S. are a little bit retarded. They get gaslit by the mainstream media a little bit there by saying, look at his manifesto, what he wrote. Who gives a shit what he wrote? Look who he is and look what he did. You know, they get hung up like, that was his intention. Bullshit. His intention was to kill Catholics, and that's what he did. If his intention was to hate Jews, he would have killed Jews, and he didn't do that. He killed Catholics. That was his target. You know, it's retarded that they come with this, and it makes you wonder if this guy went out and did this, and for the Jewish community, I'm sure the CRS is all over this, like white on rice. We talked about the CRS yesterday. They're all over this case, all over it. And they're going to try to spin it like he was some Jew hater when he was a Jew himself and he killed the enemy of the Jews. So, yeah, it's a retardation that these guys got going on, and America needs to wake the hell up when they hear bullshit like, he was just a Jew hater. Okay, well, if that's true, he would have went and shot up the Jews, and he didn't do that. So you're full of shit. Your narrative falls on its face. You know, you're lying to everybody. Obviously, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out.
Yeah, he would have had Netanyahu's face placard on the stencil, the shooting stencil, rather than the face of Christ placard on there. I mean, he was obviously anti-Christian, and you know, he like you said, targeted a Catholic school, targeted Catholic children, and shot. You know, putting the stencil on putting a face on a shooting stencil like that is an obvious message of your intent. So I don't understand how that can be spun. But yeah, we can get back to hands. I think DI, you're cycling back in. Go ahead, buddy, jump in there.
Thank you, Russ. Appreciate it. I think the connection between puberty blockers and his mother signing off on him getting puberty blockers and stuff like that at the age of 17 and changing his name and so on and so forth. I've touched on Dr. Olson Kennedy, how she took $10 million for grants doing research into puberty blockers and their effects on children. And she took the $10 million research, and when she thought that the $10 million was spent on and didn't come out, it was going to counter signal, quote unquote, her message of 1,200 overlooking mutilations of children. She withheld that. She withheld that data. And I think we need to know why she withheld that. We need to hold her strictly accountable for her decisions to overlook 1,200 mutilations of children. We need to know what puberty blockers do to the brain given to them. And then this Fairfax County, on top of everything else, for them to be pushing their gender theory, to still push that they're still going to teach gender theory to children after seeing these type of scenarios play out. All right, and we know it's not good for them. We know this absolutely. And so that being the case, these people need to be held accountable, and anybody that's still perpetuating gender theory to children to confuse them that still believe in Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy are evil, flat out evil.
Yeah.
Red Dawn, go ahead, jump in there. Or, yeah, go ahead, Rush.
No, it's flat out evil, and it's by design. So whether it's the SSRI or the puberty blockers, this dude was on a ton of medication at a very young age. I mean, that's the thing. Your mind is still developing, and you're going to give someone brain-altering medication. I mean, I don't think that's how it was tested when it got FDA approved. But I think Twiddle had his hand back up, and then it's Red Dawn, and then yeah. If we can make it quick, guys, everyone's got their hand up.
No, I can yield. I'll yield to the other guys.
All right, thanks, Twiddle. Red Dawn, good morning, buddy. Good to see you. Jump in there.
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. It may be old news or something, but the other day, actually yesterday, just something came across my feed about the IDF basically telling the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church over there in Palestine to get the hell out. I was like, wow, okay, where's this going to lead to? I don't know. You guys have maybe already touched on it. I can't stay all morning long and listen to it during the week, but yeah, I just saw that come up, and I thought, well, that's kind of going to be a powder keg getting ready to blow up, with the Catholics here. And it seems to me like although they have their differences, they're kind of banding together going, we're not going to get pushed around by Netanyahu. But anyways, I don't know if you guys touch on that or if you already did. I was a little surprised, but that's it. Have a good day.
I haven't seen that news, and I don't think we have touched on it. So thanks for bringing it, Red Dawn. I mean, we have seen them touring the churches of the Palestine area or the Gaza area of Israel, they hate Christians more than anything, and the Muslims they can deal with, they hate the Christians, and that is one of the eye-opening things for me is how much they hate you. Watching those videos, them spitting on you, and I guess now making laws to get rid of the church. I mean, they're going to have their ethno state over there, and it's not going to include the Christian religion in that. It's in their plans. But Overwatch, good morning, buddy. Good to see you. Jump in.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, team. So we were looking at the churches, getting shot up and stuff like that. It's 2025. If you go to a church, you need to have people that are armed at your church. That goes without saying. But somebody, account called Frog, hit Grok up and said, hey, asked about federal funding for security for schools and churches. And surprise, surprise, Grok came back. I posted a bunch of times. I'll try to find it again. 75%, I believe it is, or more of the money goes to Jewish schools and Jewish synagogues. How about that? And we pay for that. Isn't that something? And yeah, I wanted to touch on what General said. Living in Israel, it's through the mother. That's another psyop that most Americans don't know. You're considered Jewish. I must have heard that 1,000 times over there. It's through the mother. It's through the mother. So that's how they consider whether you're Jewish or not. I guess if the father's also Jewish, and that's where you get the name congruity, but you can get a disparity, like in this case. So most Americans don't know that. Just like most Americans don't know that they're not white, they masquerade as white. So that's a second psyop. But that's definitely a thing. So we need to tell people because they don't know. And the other guy that was saying about the boomers. The boomers were indoctrinated with patriotism, but they hijacked it and they used that patriotism to steer us into stuff. Thinking that they were patriotic and this is our duty, and they abused that sense of patriotism. That's and again, they didn't have all the news cycles or the alternate media like we have and all that stuff. But the younger kids, think about what they did to them. Everybody gets a trophy. Trans, gay, all this other stuff. They did everything to emasculate them that they didn't do to the boomers. So they've faced their own wartime levels of propaganda, that they've got to overcome. So yeah, I think that's great. We all need to come together and learn from each other. That's the way it's set up to be, to pass on the wisdom and talk to people and just find commonality so we can learn, because we all gotta battle this. So I think that's it for now. I'll end it.
I put it up in the Jumbotron as well. Benny Johnson made a post on this, and he said Christianity is the most persecuted religion on the planet, and that's because the Jews, the bankers, and we covered this yesterday, how the bankers are the ones flooding the West. Why are the bankers flooding the West? Because that's where all the Christians are. They want to destroy Christianity. That's why you see all the churches getting bought up and turned into mosques or into whatever, bars, brothels, all kinds of nonsense, because the bankers, who are Jewish, want to destroy Christianity. It's not a secret, and it's because Christianity correctly identifies the Antichrist, and the Jewish Messiah is the Antichrist. That's why they hate Christianity. That's why they hate the Christians. The Christians, anyone who is Christian and knows about it, will correctly identify the Messiah of the Jews as the Antichrist, and that's why they're trying to get all the Christians out of Israel as well. You see the ADL. Now, not only is America First hate speech, because the ADL and Kristi Noem, who might as well be the Antichrist herself, push this through. Kristi Noem is the biggest piece of shit in our entire government for putting that forward. Now, saying Christ is king is also hate speech in America, in a Christian country. They want to put, because of Kristi Noem, they want to put hate speech labels on the Bible, because it correctly identifies their role in in killing Jesus. They also have now labeled Hail Christ as hate speech in America as well. Predominantly Christian country, founded on Christian values, and they hate that. So now you see Jews going in as trannies, bombing firebombing Tesla facilities. Now they're going into Catholic schools, shooting up the Catholic schools. It's no surprise they're kicking out all the Catholics out of Israel, or all the Christians out of Israel. Tucker Carlson did a good breakdown on this. He went and interviewed the Christians in Israel. You can go watch on YouTube. The Christians correctly identify the Jews as the problem in Israel. They're the ones attacking the Christians, not the Muslims. The Muslims are not the ones attacking the Christians in Israel. It is the Jews. So yeah, you see the same thing over and over and over again. It's always the Jews, it's always the bankers trying to wipe us out with their clergy plan or whatever else. That's why the Jews and the bankers, the banking class, is flooding Europe with all of these Muslims to completely obliterate it. They're trying their best, and you have a bunch of leaders over there who are the enemy of the people, and they're installed by these bankers. And Keir Starmer himself came out and stated very clearly and directly that this is planned. This isn't just Keir Starmer doing this. All the world leaders are working on this to invade the West. It's not a surprise at all. So yeah, it's here we go. Here, I'll put up a couple things from the shooter here. So here's the shooter, his mother on Facebook. The Groypers and grab it. Here's a picture of them, all the Jews sitting there together, hanging out, having fun. There's a bunch of other documentation here proving that this guy is Jewish through his mother's side. Let's see if they didn't scrub it all yet.
General, I think that'd be a really good post to make, because I don't really see a lot of people making that connection as much. I see a lot of propaganda being pushed as far as his anti-Israel comments that were carved on the weapon. So I think it's a point that needs to be made as this story is developing. It's crazy though how many people that you have blatant evidence, like his name change paperwork that came out, and people are still trying to kick back at the fact that this guy was a transgender journey. It's pretty crazy. But Brock, I think you had your hand up, and I don't see it. Hands don't work too great on this app. But if you want to jump back in there, Brock, go ahead, man.
This is a spiritual war, and I was just going to mention, I think that it's been reported that his mother worked at that school, and it's a feeder school for a couple high schools in the area that are Catholic. One is Holy Angels, and the other is Ben Hill, St. Margaret. And not that matters, but what's interesting here is that I think I've eaten at this restaurant before, and I'm trying to figure out using grok, because I think it's a Thai restaurant in Minneapolis. But there's a temple Israel. It's on Fremont and Hennepin, and it has a ton of security. If you ever walk in there, you'll see at least 3 or 4 security guards, and a bunch of Somalis tried to attack it, and there was like a bunch of reporting on it. And then the Annunciation School, apparently absolutely no security. And going back to the funding issue, I mean, that makes sense. And the other issue here regarding all the weirdness coming out of Minneapolis is Jacob Frey, the current mayor of Minneapolis, is Jewish. He's from Virginia. He went to William and Mary. He's been the mayor of Minneapolis. Before that, he was a city council member. I've spoken to him in person about issues. And what he does is he comes in and covers things up. That's his main goal, where he uses these things as PR stunts. That's exactly what he's using this situation for right now. And it kind of, it struck me because there's something else going on here, and I don't want to get in trouble and make any defamatory comments, but I think we can all understand what that might be. And then if you connect that to some of the other major events in Minneapolis over the past 5 years, George Floyd being one, what's the pattern here? They're using this as ways to get publicity. I was, in the BBC, we have Jacob Frey's name. We have the chief Brian O'Hara of the Minneapolis Police Department spread all over the world suddenly. And what they try and do, and based on my conversations, for example, with like David Hutchinson, the former sheriff in Hennepin County, is that they try and circulate this stuff to get more attention. So I think if you, and I'm gonna check out this Facebook photo to try and figure out where they were at. But and whether his mother is Jewish, I don't know if that's true or not, honestly, because she worked at the Catholic school. We have no 100% confirmation. It seems to be true, but we'll see. But I'm going to land it right there.
I saw them posting the documentation. I'm trying to pull it right now, but it's not uncommon for Jews to go to Catholic schools either. It's even in some of the areas, you'll find that they'll go to Catholic schools because they're better schools. Like Vivek Ram Scammer, for example, he went to a Catholic school, but he's Hindu, right? So there are Muslims, Hindus, Jews that go to Catholic schools because the Catholic schools are private schools and they're better schools in general. They're private. They don't, and a lot of them don't go with LGBT. They don't go with all this like bullshit nonsense. So a lot of parents opt to, send their kids to Catholic schools even if they're not Catholic, especially if they don't have like a school for Jews, or if they don't have schools for Hindus or all these other demographics. They'll send their kids to Catholic schools because there are a lot of Catholic schools that are private in the country. That's predominantly the private schools, at least in Michigan, are predominantly Catholic schools. So if you want to send your kid to a private school, you're gonna be looking at Catholic schools. Yeah, watch good.
Yeah, going back to the religion, it's just yet another conversion of these people. They claim to be worshiping the Most High, but they're worshiping the Most Low. And the shame of it in the Christian community is these evangelicals are, want to help them facilitate that because they're confused about their Bible. And what we're supposed to be doing as Christians is fighting this, come hell or high water along the way, and making converts and pointing this out. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be sending money over to Israel so they could bring this stuff in. It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. But all the evangelicals are, we need to facilitate this. I'm like, show me. Show me where it says this. Show me where in any of the four Gospels Christ commanded this. You were told it was going to happen, but nowhere are you told to facilitate it and send money. It's just crazy, So they've got it sewed up, man. It's a big psyop, along with all their other psyops of the money. Everything's fake, everything's an inversion, and it's your duty to point this stuff out. It's your duty to throw out the truth, and in all things, and regardless of the slings and arrows you're going to take for it, it's what we got to do. So I just wanted to say that. Thanks.
Yeah, and it's to me one of the most fishy things. The way that they're trying to push this, is Israeli propaganda and his obvious intentions against Christianity. I mean, and to me, that his whole support of NAFO, support of Ukraine, it aligns with the exact same MO as that the Tennessee shooter, that Trinity, and that one was a female to male Trinity. So it was a woman shooter. I mean, that's a very rare thing in our society, and that Trinity had a UN flag hanging on its wall, and it really was a perpetuant of the global homo. But yeah, Twiddle, jump in there, buddy. Get back in there.
Hey, thanks, Fresh. We touched on so much. He actually already put it up in the jumbotron. On this trans violence thing, I was just looking over all the shootings, like almost all of them except for like one identified as trans. and they identified as a trans fluid individual. But like the Uvalde shooting, all the ones that we've seen recently, it's been some sort of trans individual or something along that lines. And only up until recently, the ones from before, like in Obama's era, they weren't like that. I don't think they were the other scares, the Islamophobia or there's been a few, but I did have another topic I wanted to touch on regarding something we had spoke on like it's gone on a month now about Microsoft's data breaches and their connection with China and all that stuff. Pete Hegseth was on, I don't know if it was Fox or something. He's launching a full-scale investigation into Intel and Microsoft's data, and it's all going to be done through third party, and they're trying to find any sort of code that was put in. And he said, to quote him, he's like, we're going to find it. But it says here, it's they're using Chinese Communist Party linked engineers to work on U.S. military and Pentagon cloud services. So some of those attacks that we've seen in the past might have been stuff that was sent over and a way in, so to speak. But he says so it's over. We're requiring a third-party audit of Microsoft's digital escort program, including the code and the submissions by Chinese nationals. The audit will be free of charge for U.S. taxpayers. Says, did they put anything to code? We're going to find it. Why I find this so funny is because I've seen multiple reports that China ditched all of their Microsoft software, and they're now using their own, I guess Chinese-owned, non-Intel, non-Microsoft stuff. So I find it very, very, very funny that this he said full-scale investigation. And then not only that, Trump was calling out the CEO of Intel. I think it was like last week or the week before. So yeah, something's happening in brewing. And I talked about it earlier. Trump met with Bill Gates. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Literally after he fired that the lady at the CDC, the governor of the CDC. But I'm following all that stuff pretty closely because it's moving. Like I was saying, it's all moving so fast. Thanks.
Yeah, I thought it was good that Gunther put up the statistics on mass shootings, and you can see that whites there are not the mass shooters that the media claims it to be, and that's again because the CRS at the DOJ, they've been running this propaganda campaign against us for a long time, and all you got to do is go look at who works with the CRS and who's running it, and you'll find out that the same ethnicity there is controlling a lot of this. But I did make a post here, and I think it's important to kind of having this conversation. The mayor there, I think was it the mayor that was crying about the trans and trying to protect the trannies and trunies, and it's just like, no.
The lieutenant governor.
Yeah, it's time.
Flanagan.
It's time to shove these shitbags back in the closet. Make bullying great again, and shove the trannies and the LGBT faggots back in the closet, because we're sick of this shit. And I have a meme up there. Go ahead and let everybody know we're done with this. We're done with it. You know, when it says when women think they're men, start shooting up Christian schools, it's time to stop pretending this freak shit is normal, and it's time to shove these circus freaks back in the closet. And that's a fact. It's time to shove these damn people back in the closet. We're tired of this. They've been weaponizing, and it goes back to the stuff we're always talking about here, right? They're stripping the youth of their identity, telling them that their identity is some freak show bullshit that goes against their human nature, and then they pump them full of drugs, and they send them out there to commit a bunch of violent crimes. That's why Antifa is so violent. They have all these nut jobs in there that are full of they're pumped up with SSRIs and all these other kind of drugs, and they don't know who they are. They've been completely stripped of their identity and who they are as Americans. We see it. I mean, even people that are running around here, they want to revive Hitler and all this shit. Like, that's another side, because they don't know who they are. They don't know their own history. They don't know what America is, who founded America, how America was founded. They just want to run off with some retarded position about World War II that all it does is play into the hands of our enemies. It just gives them more leverage to cry and scream, look at this, look at that, we're oppressed, Holocaust, and all this bullshit that they just keep screaming. To then the ADL comes out and says saying Christ is King is hate speech, and saying America first is hate speech. If you're a nationalist for America, that's hate speech against the Jews. Like, can you imagine saying America first is anti-Semitic, and then Israel turns around and kicks all the Christians out of Israel? Like, really? You just can't make this stuff up. And Chrissy Nome is the biggest piece of shit. She needs to be removed. She'll be remembered as the Antichrist piece of shit garbage that she is for pushing all this stuff through. The only way the ADL is allowed to claim this stuff hate speech is because of Chrissy Nome. She put that bill through. Where's she from? South Dakota, wherever. She's the one who pushed this through initially, and she's the devil. Full stop. She's a full-blown devil, and I can't believe that Trump has chosen her to have any part in his administration for this. If it wasn't for Christy Nome, they couldn't claim that America First is hate speech. Just so you know. That's how they did it, because of Christy Nome. But yeah, it's time to shove this freak show shit back in the closet. We're sick of the faggots running around being pedophiles and the trannies shooting up schools. We're done with it. All the SSRIs, all this bullshit that they've built this whole system around to destroy our youth and weaponize them against us. Yeah, we're done. And we know it's the Jews. We know they're behind it. This isn't rocket science. Even Steve Bannon himself said it. You can go and look at all their nonsense, to the point they're going as far as to saying America First is anti-Semitic hate speech. And how dare you burn the LGBT flag? If you burn the LGBT flag, it's hate speech. But if you burn the American flag, that's okay. If you burn the Israeli flag, that's hate speech. But if you burn the American flag, that's okay. Like, really? This is how they've manipulated all this bullshit. So yeah, it is very problematic. And the tranny community, the LGBT faggot community, they need to be, make bullying great again. These people need to be bullied back in the closet. They're destroying our society and pushing their degeneracy everywhere. You guys remember, we just want to get married. That quickly turned into say my pronouns or you're going to lose your bank. Say my pronouns or you're going to lose your job. We're going to teach your children to chop their genitals off. And if you don't like it, we're going to take your kids away from you. That's where this LGBT faggotry leads to. And that's why it was always historically handled the way it was handled, because these people are mentally ill. And this is just one more case of mental illness from their community. So yeah, no more playing nice with these people. They waged war on our children. They waged war on our society. They tried to convince our children to chop their genitals off. No way. I mean, they have books in school called "This Book is Gay," and it teaches kids about eating poop, eating human feces as a sexual preference. So I mean, this is the kind of nonsense we're dealing with from this community, and everyone has to be quiet or you're going to lose your job and all this. No, we're not going to be quiet. we're gonna shove your ass back in the closet, you fucking faggots. We're done with it. This has gone way too far, to the point where little children are getting murdered now because of their faggotry. We need to make asylums great again. Make insane asylums great again. If these people are too screwed up, get them on a different type of medication where they drool all over themselves and they can't move. Pick up a gun. Enough of this nonsense. Yeah, go ahead, Rush. You can jump in there. Or he might be away. DEI, go ahead, jump in there.
Thanks, General. Yeah. I'm looking through here, and I don't want to change the subject all that much, but I was looking, and there's these claims of anti-Semitism towards Christians and Muslims. It's really interesting as I go through and I ask Grok, hey Grok, where do Muslims and Christians, where they're called anti-Semitics, agree? Where do Muslims and Christians agree? And I took four scenarios and 4 historical facts from the Quran and the Bible where they agree on their outlook on the Jew, their opinion of the Jew, and where in all 4 points that they make and they agree on the Jew, that they point out about the Jew, they're called anti-Semites in all 4 cases. The Jews, it seems like, are working systematically to call anything that Muslims and Christians agree on anti-Semitic. It's really quite odd. I posted it all in the bill. Thanks, General.
Yeah, just really quickly here. The other issue is